Hello, this is Dave Elvis Rossi and
Alicia Carney.
And
John Bermuda Schwartz.
We're sitting here with
John Bermuda Schwartz.
For an interview
With John Bermuda Schwartz.
John Bermuda Schwartz. And over here we have Gus and Jackie, but okay. We're going to actually ask you a couple questions, some very personal. So nothing's off limits.
Okay, good.
And first we're going to start off with, what is your ringtone?
My ringtone? It's a duck quacking. Quack, 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 quack.
A duck? Why a duck?
Why a duck? That's a Marx Brothers line. No, why a duck? When I first got my phone, I was scrolling through. I used to have a bird. My wife and I had an English parakeet. And we were scrolling through trying to select ringtones. And when we got to the duck, the bird went crazy. So we kept the duck. And the bird's gone, but the duck remains. So, rest in peace.
Question number 2 is since this is a tour of all original songs by Al, we wanted to know what your favorite original song to perform on is and why.
Wow. It's hard to say. I like them all. I like them all. I think You Don't Love Me Anymore is perhaps my favorite because I get to go off stage and I get about a 4.5 minute break. That's my favorite song. I haven't screwed that one up yet. That's a good one. I like that. So You Don't Love Me Anymore. And it's a pretty song. It's a very nice song.
Not having been to a show yet this tour, I want to know more about this Little Suck-a-Thumb story.
Oh. Well, what happens, the story of Little Suck-a-Thumb. I need to talk about the origin. This was something that I learned. A friend of mine, when I was like 13, a friend of mine had a book called Slovenly Peter, and in the German, Struwel Peter. And it was a book of stories, sort of like bad stories about things that kids did that were bad. One kid slid down the staircase banister and his legs came off, all this other stuff. And one of the stories was the story of Little Suck-a-Thumb, about a kid that sucked his thumb. This was a story that I guess you would tell your child if they sucked their thumb, you didn't want them to do it, and who does? So the story of and before I do it, let me explain why I do it. Sometimes we need to buy a little time on stage. Sometimes Al just screws with me and makes me do shtick, and that's my shtick for it has been for 20 years. So if I'm doing that, somebody needs to tune a guitar or plug in a cable, or he's just screwing with me. That's possible. So the story of Little Suck-a-Thumb. One day, Mama said, "Conrad, dear, I must go out and leave you here. But mind now, Conrad, what I say. Don't suck your thumb while I'm away. The great tall tailor always comes to little boys that suck their thumbs, and ere they dream what he's about, he takes his long sharp scissors out and cuts their thumbs clean off. Then you know they never go back again." Mama had scarcely turned her back. The thumb was in. Alack, alack, to my favorite part. The door flew open and he ran, the long red-legged scissors man. "Oh, children, see, the tailor comes to naughty Little Suck-a-Thumb." Snip, snap, snip, the scissors go, and Conrad cries, "Oh, oh, oh." Snip, snap, snip, they go so fast that both his thumbs are off at last. Mama comes home, there Conrad stands, looks quite sad and shows his hands. "Ah," said Mama, "I knew he'd come to naughty Little Suck-a-Thumb." Thank you. That's...
Guess you're not clapping.
All right, we're back with John Bermuda Schwartz and Alicia and me, Dave. And we're here interviewing John
Bermuda Schwartz.
So John, you've been touring with Al for how many years now?
Well, touring since 1983, so depending when you're watching this, you can do the math.
Okay. So for quite a while.
Well, in the year 2018, it would be 35 years.
35 years. That's amazing. In your 35 years touring with Al, what is like maybe one of your favorite tour stories that you can share? Remember, everyone's watching this. And anything that stands out to you? There's maybe a fun trip you had, or a venue maybe you weren't expecting.
We did some very cool venues, especially in mandatory fun. We did the Hollywood Bowl, we did the Hammersmith Odeon in London, we did Radio City Music Hall, We did the biker rally in Sturgis. I think we did some really cool things, and those kind of things make, being on the road, the places we go, the places we play, make it a lot of fun. Otherwise, it's the same old five faces just looking at each other. So we got over that in about 85, 87, somewhere in there. We got tired of that. So after that, it was, well, we better about do some sightseeing or play some cool places to keep this fresh. And so far, so good.
You mentioned sightseeing. Are there any stops along the way that you've been in Europe, you've been in Australia, you've been all over the United States, Canada, any places that you love to visit?
The Canadian cities are great. We like the American cities. The Australian cities are great. Turns out the European cities are also great. And we like cities. So all you people in cities, we will come to see you soon.
How do you feel about towns?
Towns are they're pretty great too, it turns out. Towns, burbs.
County fairs.
Yeah, the hamlets are good. Any place that's got a place we can set up and play and we can get at least 1,500 people, we're happy. Sometimes that's the entire population of the town, but at least they have something to do that night.
We're going to go to the audience for a question. Anybody in the audience have a question?
Yes.
You, miss,
Yeah.
in the purple dress.
So, one thing I really liked about this tour have been the cover songs. I've liked them. They've become way cooler than I thought they would, and I thought they'd be cool to begin with. What cover song have you guys done that you really enjoyed doing, and is there one you haven't done you would like to? And I know you can't spoil it.
We enjoy doing them all. I mean, it's a real change of pace for us. On some of these songs, a lot of them are songs that we've done. Me especially, being in 1,000 other bands at home over the last 40 years, have done a lot of these songs. I Saw Her Standing There, and Honky Tonk Woman, and stuff like that, and Rebel Yell, and things like that. So those are fun. It's fun to do them in the context with these guys, with Al singing, and sometimes playing. Stuck in the Middle with You, Squeeze Box. I mean, there's just Uncontrollable Urge by Devo, Blister in the Sun. Just a ton of really fun stuff. What I Like About You, Johnny Be Good. I think so far we're about 45 songs into it. It's going to be 77. And there are some upcoming songs that are going to be very interesting. Not that he's saving the best for the last, but he's saving the most interesting for like LA, let's say. There's a very interesting song coming up in Eugene, Oregon for a very interesting reason. I know I hate to be cryptic, but there's a reason.
Yeah.
And it is going to be the hardest cover song that we do. And it doesn't even have lyrics.
Huh.
So Al gets off easy. He doesn't have to learn any lyrics. But it's going to be hard for us. It is hard. We're already working on it. In putting together this list, which Al started last year, way back, the summer, early last year, there's a ton of songs we could be doing. I mean, there's a ton of great songs out there. To limit it to just 77, is hard. I mean, I think they're all winners. Audience has loved them all so far. Even sort of obscure, Particle Man by They Might Be Giants is.
I wish I'd seen that.
Now, not everybody knows They Might Be Giants. Al's fans should, as they should know Devo, for example. They should know Presidents of the United States. We did Peaches in Augusta, Georgia. Of course. And again, not mainstream hit, but Blister in the Sun was not a mainstream hit, but it's something that people that listen to progressive radio or alternative radio would certainly know. And that was one that, in fact, I do that in one of my bands. So that wasn't a foreign song to me by any means. But we have some fun stuff coming up, and some repeat offenders by artists. So if we've done one artist, we may be doing them again.
I have a question. Sometime last year, you made a Facebook post about the pre-show songs, making a playlist of those, and you asked for requests for those. How many of those have you been able to actually implement?
One, and it was one that was already on my list. Honestly, I listened to some of the suggestions that I was borderline on, and they just didn't. Not that they're bad. There's got to be a certain energy level, so a certain tempo. It's got to sound like it can be a hit. Even if you don't know the song, it's got to sound like a hit that somehow escaped you. So in other words, every song's got to be enjoyable to most of the people. I didn't pick any extremely inside stuff. I certainly could have done that. But not everybody would have got it. It just would have been noise. And I've heard people out there singing along to a lot of these songs, it was just like really cool. That's very cool. So I mean, I chose wisely. I mean, well, I've been doing this for 25 years, so Al knows that I'm not going to pick anything offensive, or if there's a naughty word or something in there that it'll get edited out, or if it can't be, the song just doesn't make it. There's one exception, and it's in the rotation right now, and I won't say the word, but it's a straight radio hit as is, and it's "Rock the Casbah" by Clash.
Yeah.
So if you know the song and you read the lips and you actually look at the lyrics, you can see what some of the lyric changes are. If you just hear it go by sitting in the audience at a kind of quiet level, you wouldn't think anything of it. So I left that alone because it's apparently radio friendly. So that one got by. Other than that, there are some songs where I made some edits, and so they're clean, but haven't changed the style or the theme of them. But everything's supposed to, they should be good feeling songs. So that's how I chose all of this. But to answer your question again, I think there was, and I forget which song it was, but there was maybe one, and it was on my list. So, but it was good to see what some people are interested in. I mean, definitely some outside stuff there.
Can you just kind of describe what it's like to go in a recording studio with Al?
Oh boy. Well, we decide where we're going to eat first. Usually a place close by, or if we can all fit into one car, we can go drive there for lunch. When we go into the studio, we know what we're going to do. Some bands go in the studio, they'll just book it for 2 weeks, and it becomes their rehearsal, and they're part of their creative process and all of that. And the time is money, so Al does all the rehearsal and creative process beforehand, before we actually get into the studio. So by the time we get there, we know what we're doing, we go through and can record most of the songs in 1 or 2 takes if it's a live song. If it's a parody and it's all sequenced and programmed, we've already done that work beforehand, and it gets assembled in the studio, and of course presumably it all works. And that's just a matter of loading files and listening to it for 3.5 or 4 minutes. It's like, yep, that worked. So that's done. But going in, it's work, but we've also done a lot of pre-production, and so that we could be efficient. And in a couple of cases, we've had to be so efficient because an album's release deadline depended on that. And that's happened on a couple of albums. Mandatory Fun and depended on Tacky to be, not Tacky, Tacky, no, Handy. Handy, Tacky, whatever. Handy was approved and recorded literally at the last minute. I mean, we had like 3 days maybe to get that done. And to meet what was, I think, July 14th, release date July 15th, something like that. And we got that done like the first week of June. And now he had us standing by. It's like, think about doing this. Don't do all your work, but kind of get ready to do some work, because you're not going to have like any time when I call you. We're going to be in the studio the next day. And he did, and we were. And the album came out when it was supposed to. And which was important. I don't know if it had come out a week later or 2 weeks later, what other artists we might have been up against, and would we have had a #1 album? Right. Hard to say. I mean, it wasn't that it was, it was a good selling album, but had we been up against Taylor Swift that week, Beyonce, Justin, the other Justin, any of those guys, it would have been, we would have been down a few notches. So it was the right week, and it was very cool. #1 album's a cool thing. Yeah. So thank you all for doing that for us.
Yes, congratulations on the #1 album. Thank you.
What the most fun songs on the tour to play?
In general, fun. Albuquerque is fun because we never know what's going to happen with that. Fun. Wow. They're all fun. I think the different cover song we do each night is what helps keep it really changes it up for us, and that's a lot of fun. I mean, that may be the fun part of the evening. As far as the regular rotation of songs, we're rotating 50 originals throughout the sets. They're all fun. We all get to have fun on them, so it's all good. It's all good.
What are you thinking and feeling during a normal show? Like, if it's all, like, how do I want to say this? Like, is it work to you, or is it also just fun to do?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, it's not a free-for-all up there. I mean, we have a job to do, and we need, to make the songs sound like we've rehearsed them, and so we have a little bit of freedom to work, but we have to stay on track, to stay focused. but it's also fun. I mean, it's fun at the same time, so it's the best of both. I mean, it's great. Working with Al's a great job.
Give the audience a little insight how you started out drumming and some of what your early influences were.
I started drumming at a fairly early age. I was 9, and there were actually, my brother was a drummer, or had taken drum lessons, so there were drums in the house. That was an easy transition. Actually, I played accordion before drums. I could have been, you could be interviewing Weird John.
Right.
Yeah. No, I gave that, he gave up drums for guitar, I gave up accordion for the drums. We moved the drums across the hall into my room and I started taking lessons. And I played in school bands and stuff like that, and got together with people that I knew from the school bands and did like little side projects and things like that. And it was with some of those guys that we sent Pico and Sepulveda to the Dr. Demento show in 1973. And it got played, and we actually came in second out of like 100 entries in a contest to do your own version of the song. Al did a version of it too, as it turns out.
Oh.
His did not, actually his didn't make it. I finally got the story as to why there are like no recordings of that anywhere that we know of. He had given it to Dr. Demento when the doctor came to speak at his school. And he gave it to the doctor, and the doctor didn't have the heart to tell him that he had missed the deadline. Oh, worse than that. The doctor, so he was finishing up after his talk, put the tape in his trunk, and I guess forgot about it, and then sold the car. So somewhere, there's a car, I don't know what the car is, that's got a cassette tape in it of Al's version of he and his friends doing Pico and Sepulveda. First thing he ever sent to Dr. Demento, first thing I ever sent to Dr. Demento, but it would be like 7 more years before we ever met. So, in between that and the time I met Al in 1980, I played in some other bands and played professionally and semi-professionally and part-time. Had all sorts of ups and downs as a full-time player. And then when I met Al, it just sort of, there was a path there. I didn't know what it was. He didn't know what it was, but there was something that looked like something was going to happen. And it did. Evidently it did. So, or you wouldn't be talking to me.
Right.
Okay. Or you wouldn't be talking to me.
Right.
Okay.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about your time, or some of the songs maybe that you had played on Dr. Demento, or hanging out with Dr. Demento, or your time?
Well, the first thing was a cover. It was some of my friends, like horn players, because I didn't know, in 1973, I didn't know guitar players or things like that. So it was, horn with trombone, and I think a French horn, and maybe 2 trombones, sax. The famous Richard Elliott played sax on that. It's a school cello line. Flute, trumpet, and drums. Sent that to Demento, played that. That actually became his theme for a little while, because we didn't do a vocal version, we did an instrumental version. So he was able to play that as his theme and talk over it. So he liked that. He played that for a while in 73, maybe into 74. But we thought, it took a while, but we thought, oh, that's really cool. He played something, we recorded. Got together and about 9 months later recorded The Ballad of Woodsy Owl and sent that to him. And he played that. Not as his theme, but he played that a bit. And again, it just didn't really sink in with us, because it was a year and a half before we sent him the next song. We weren't very prolific, but we decided, well, we'll send him, another thing. And maybe in June of 75, we sent him Mr. Ghost Goes to Town. Again, none of these are our originals. They were things that Dr. Demento had played. And we said that, and he played that. And he still plays that once in a while on Halloween, the first Halloween show. Even though there are 2 other legitimate versions of it. That's the Demento connection. It was because he played those things, and I think along with Rotorwood or Good Time Band, was probably among the first few people to get homemade music played on the show. And now, the show had evolved. They had begun to cater to a lot of independent artists. It wasn't a big deal to get homemade music. Thank God, because you got Weird Al making homemade music and becoming the most requested artist on the show. So by 1980, I had been invited down to the show to kind of just do an interview and talk about how I was the first, among the first, and what I was doing now. And Al was there that night, as he was most Sunday nights. And this was the live show that sort of was morphed into the syndicated show, which at the time was on almost 200 stations across the U.S. And we did another one, Rise the Bus, that night. And that's where, I should have written it down, but I'm pretty sure the line was, "You need to have a band, I'll be your drummer." or words to that effect. And that's how this all began. Now there's another story about Another One Rides the Bus. It wasn't just, oh, Al did a song that was very popular on the show. The syndicated show reflected the live show in Los Angeles, and there was a lot of stuff pulled from that. It was cobbled together into a syndicated show. And Another One Rides the Bus made it into the syndicated show. Well, now Another One Rides the Bus is being heard in 200 markets across the country. But it didn't end there. And usually his show was played on weekends and Sunday nights typically. Well, every station that had like a morning wacky zoo crew team or whatever it was, those guys Monday morning would listen to the Demento show and pull off funny stuff to play in morning drive time. And they took Another One Rides the Bus. So now we're getting played in morning drive time in major markets for people that would never listen to the Dr. Demento show. And so the exposure was just incredible. And that was a huge leap that I think to mainstream America really, My Bologna, had come out almost a year before, but I think that was a huge stepping stone and really put him in front of a lot of people that wouldn't have otherwise heard him. That really got the ball rolling to management and to seeking permission for a first album, for songs to put on an album and stuff like that. And within a year and a half, we had recorded an album and his manager was shopping it. And then that was the first album. That's what became the first album. So that's another aside about Another One Rides the Bus. Wasn't just, you guys made a song and played it on the Tom Snyder show. It actually, there is some significance to that song and what became of it and how that gave a big push to Al's name. So there.
Well, let's change gears a little bit. I understand you're a pretty good cook. Is that true?
No. I'm a great cook.
A great cook? Ah, there we go.
I'm a very good cook. No, I do cook. I'm the cook of the house.
You're the cook of the house. Okay, so go ahead.
And I cook things on the stove with pots and pans and utensils. And I cook with gas. And I know how to mix ingredients and chop herbs and grind stuff and put them together just at the right time in the right order and to the right temperature for the right length of time. Quite delicious. My specialty, I guess, is Indian cuisine. Not Southwestern, not American Indian, but East Indian. Indian like Mahatma Gandhi would probably eat, except I eat meat. So he would not eat the chicken or lamb dishes, I'm sure. But that's, some of my favorite dishes are chicken korma, lamb sag. My wife specializes in some other dishes, so we don't overlap. She'll do a chicken tandoori, she does some of the breads. I do keema, which is sort of a ground, normally it's a ground lamb and some other spices things and peas and stuff. You can either eat it straight or make samosas, which are essentially pupusas, which are a sort of, every culture's got one. It's wrapped up stuff inside a doughy pastry kind of thing.
Final question. What's your favorite comedy TV show?
YNN.
Thank you.
Well, lucky for you, you're on YNN right now!
What? You what?
Ta-da!
Surprise!
Oh, I never knew this would happen to me.
So we want to thank John Bermuda Schwartz and also let him live his lifelong dream of being on YNN.
Oh, thank you.
So this is Dave Elvis Rossi
Alicia Carney.
and
John Bermuda Schwartz.
signing off for YNN. We'll talk to you soon.
Goodbye.